All right, so today should be interesting because I don't know where my little stylus pen is. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. So we are, the name of this section is really fancy. It says Applications and Survey Analysis. All we're doing is we're filling out Venn diagrams and using those to solve problems. So ain't nothing near as fancy as it sounds. Okay. So this section is pretty short. We're gonna be given some little survey reports and then make Venn diagrams out of those and then answer whatever question they ask us about those surveys. Okay. So one thing that is going to be a little different is we're finally doing a Venn diagram that has 3 circles. Okay. So far we've only looked at 2 circles at a time. But other than that, it's really nothing more complicated than what we've been doing. Okay. So let's look at one that has 3 circles here. Okay. All right. So usually, okay, when we have 3 sets, okay, we want to overlap the circles, so we've got some overlap between all 3 in the middle, and then we want each circle to overlap the other circles too. So end up drawing something like this. Okay. Usually, I think when I draw mine, I have it like upside down from the way the textbook drew theirs, where mine has like Mickey Mouse ears on it. That's usually how it looks, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so this one gives us a Venn diagram and then it asks us for some information. So this is where we're kind of reviewing. We have to go back and review what we've talked about to see what these are asking for. And so on A, inside here we've got A intersect B intersect C. And if we remember, intersection is where the sets overlap. Okay. So what the area we're looking at is the place where A, B, and C all overlap. Okay, so that's right in the middle. And then our absolute value symbol looking thing is cardinal number. Cardinal number. So this one just says how many elements, okay, are in the area of our Venn diagram where A, B, and C all overlap. So once you find that place on the picture that matches that, right, the place where all 3 circles overlap, how many do we have in there? 1. It's got a 1 in there. Okay. And then B is how many elements do we have where A and B overlap? A intersect B. So now you have to be a little bit more careful, okay, because kind of looking at the picture, we kind of have 2 sections, okay, that we have to take into account, because A overlaps B in the very middle, okay, where we had 1 last time, but it also overlaps B out here where we've got these 5. So for this cardinal number, we have to include both of these pieces. So we add them together. So 5 plus 1, we end up with 6 elements there. Okay. Because A intersect B, just in case I'm not being clear, okay, A intersect B is like, well, let's see. There, right. Okay. Questions so far, or not? Nothing real life-changing yet? Yes.
So for A, it would only be 1, right?
If it was just A.
Yeah, just A.
If it just said A, you would actually have to do all of the A circle. Right, so you'd have to add 5.
No, I'm talking about
if it said question A. Oh, question A. Yeah, it's only 1. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah, on part A. Yeah. Yeah. See the confusion there. So on part A, yes, it's just 1, just the piece in the middle. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. So, well, we'll go ahead and ask here. If we skip ahead a few slides, we've got 2 more. Okay, it asks us 2 other intersection question that says, how many elements do we have in A intersects C? So A intersects C, we have 9. That's these two. Right. So 9 there. And then the other one it asks is, how many do we have in B intersects C? Yep. If we look at that piece there, that kind of faded out there right there. You got 1 plus 10, so we just have to add those together. So that's not a difficult thing, but it's something you might not have thought about right away if we didn't mention it. Okay? Is that we're not just looking at one piece. Sometimes you have to add multiple little cells together. There. Okay. All right. So this one asks us to draw a Venn diagram. This next one does, but we're not going to draw this one out. We'll draw the next one out because this one, sorry. This one is one of those sets where you just have so many letters. Okay? So on the first one, we saw it just told us how many elements we had in each set. This one is actually listing out all the elements. So we'll just look and see what it looks like. Okay, you just have so many letters you have to write down. This one's really annoying to draw out, okay, because our universal set's the whole alphabet. Okay. But the thing to notice here, if we were going to draw this out, okay, we do have some overlap between the sets. Right? Like if you look at set A, set B, and set C, like they all have the letter A in there. So that's going to be in the overlap between all three. And then we have some other overlap too. So that's something you have to think about. Do you have overlap before you draw out the Venn diagram? And we'll just look and see what this one looks like here. Okay. So if we took the time and we drew that one all out, okay, we've got the letters that are in all three sets in here, A and I. And then we have some letters that are just in like B and C, some that are just in A and C, or 1, and then 1 that's just in B and A. And then outside we have the letters that are only in set A, the letters that are only in set C, the letters that are only in set B. And then out here we've got all the ones in our universal set that are not in any of these. Okay. So we will draw the next one. That one's just, it's not worth the time it takes to draw it to me. Okay. So we already mentioned it a little bit here, but we're doing survey analysis in this section. And that's just exactly what it sounds like. Okay. Our definition is almost the term again. We're analyzing surveys. Okay. What it says is we're analyzing responses to a list of questions, also known as a survey. Okay, so we're gonna use Venn diagrams to do that. Okay. So let's look at our first one here. Okay. This one says a survey of 500 students showed that 350 listened to jazz, 300 listened to classical, and 200 listened to both. But we want to draw a Venn diagram for that. Okay. All right, so bear with me. Don't have my pen, so I'm having to draw with my finger up here. Okay. We are going to make our box. Okay, that's our universal set. And then how many circles do we need? All right, so how many categories of music did we have? 2. We need one for jazz, we need one for classical. And then figuring out the way we need to draw these, We can look at the other information it tells us. It says we had 200 that listened to both types, so we've got some overlap between the two sets. So we need our circles to overlap. Okay, so we need a circle here for jazz, and then our oval, and then an oval here for classical. I'm trying to leave myself a big overlap so I'll have room to write the number in there. Okay. So on these, when we're filling them out, okay, what we want to do is we want to start at the center, okay, where we have the most overlaps, and then work our way out. With two circles, we only have one overlap to consider. When we have three, we've got the place where all three overlap. We would want to start there. The reason why I'm telling you to start there is because when we're counting the ones that are in both sets, if you remember that inclusion-exclusion principle we mentioned, if you're not careful, you end up counting those people twice. Okay? And we don't want to do that. Okay? So here, how many do we have in the overlap? 200, yeah. We had 200 people that said they listened to jazz and classical. So 200's in here. Okay. So now it's kind of where that inclusion-exclusion idea comes into play. If we look, so I'm just going to go from the beginning to the end of our description here. 500 students, we'll save that, but it says, showed that 350 listened to jazz. So that means in our whole jazz circle, we got to have a total of 350. Okay. We already have 200 in there. We don't want to count those again. So we just have to subtract. Okay. So we know we want jazz to total 350. 350 minus the 200 we already have in there give us 150 that are out in this other part we don't have filled in yet. Okay. Does that make sense when we did that? Because it says we had a total of 350 that listened to jazz. It didn't say only jazz, right? They just included 350 that listened to jazz. So we want our jazz circle to total up to 350. Okay. And then same idea for classical. Let's say we had 300 that listened to classical. So we want the C circle to total up to 300. We already have 200 in there. So 300 minus 200 is just 100 out here. And then we've got one more piece we can fill in on this. I didn't really leave myself enough room. But it tells us we had a total of 500 students in the survey. So if we check 100 plus 200 is 300, plus 150 is 450. So we've got 50 people unaccounted for. Where are they going to go? They don't listen to jazz. They don't listen to classical. So they would go just out in the rectangle, out in the universal set. So normally we write that up in the left corner. I've got my J there. So I'm going to switch it and I'll write it down down here, maybe. Okay. Now it makes sense. Once you see the idea that you need to subtract so the circle total is the right number, it's not hard to remember. Good to go? Okay. All right. Let's look at another one then. And that one didn't ask us any questions, but what it could have asked were things like how many students only listen to classical music. We figured that out. That's the 100 that's just in the C circle. Or how many students don't listen to either type of music. And we figured that out. That's the 50 that are outside both circles. Those types of questions. Look at this one. Now we've got people at an ice cream shop. Got a survey of 400 of them, showed that 225 like chocolate ice cream, 300 like vanilla, 200 customers like both. draw a Venn diagram here. So draw our universal set. Okay, so how many circles do we need? 2. We need one for chocolate, one for vanilla. So there's chocolate. There's vanilla. I kind of got a little outside the lines there, but that's okay. And then we want to start in the middle. Okay, so it tells us 200 customers like both. So those are the ones that are going to be in the overlap. It's not always 200. It just turned out that way that both of these were. 200 in there. And if we just go back to the top as we read down, we got 400 total, so we use that at the end. But then it says 225 like chocolate. So we need our chocolate circle to total up to 225. 225 minus the 200 we already have in there gives us 25 chocolate only people. And it says 300 liked vanilla. So 300 minus the 200 that's already in there gives us 100 vanilla only people. And then we have one more number to use because it tells us we had a total of 400. So if we check, see if we had any outside, got 100 plus 200 is 300, plus 25 is 325. That means we're missing 75 people that I guess don't like chocolate or vanilla. Maybe they don't even like ice cream. I don't know why they would be at an ice cream shop. Maybe they're just like cookies and cream people or something like that. And for strawberry, if you're going with the 3 classics. There's our Venn diagram. Okay. Questions on that one? No? Okay. All right. At this next one, we get one with 3 circles now. Okay. They're really not any harder. They're just a lot more information thrown at you with 3 circles. Because you've got the ones that were in these 2 circles and the ones that were in these 2 and these 2. Some were in all 3s. We got the ones that weren't in any of them. Okay, so just take it one little piece at a time. Don't get overwhelmed trying to figure out where everything goes at once. Okay, and then that'll help you. Okay. So let's look at next here. Okay. All right, so it says we've got students majoring in international relations that are polled on whether they take courses in any of 3 languages, French, German, and Russian. And then it gives us a bunch of information we'll use to fill in our Venn diagram in a second. Okay. I'm just going to pause right there for now and get my sketch set up because how many circles do we need? Could have 3, one for French, one for German, and one for Russian. And if you're trying to copy down like what I'm doing on the screen, you'll want to arrange yours in the same little orientation that I do mine, or it gets really confusing. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to do French. Let me make that a little bigger, actually, since I'm having to write with my finger on the screen today. So French, German, and Russian is what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. So again, we've got all that information to look through. And what I'm going to be looking for is I'm going to be looking for anywhere it says maybe that how many people took all 3 languages, or at least some kind of information that tells me what's going to go here where they all 3 overlap. Okay. That's where we want to start. Okay, so if we go back and start reading through this stuff. Okay. First thing this one tells us is that no student who took French also took Russian. Okay. And that might not seem all that helpful right to start with, but that does tell me something that I need right now. Okay. If you didn't have anybody that took French and Russian, then that means we did not have anybody that took all three. Okay. Because if you didn't take French and Russian, you couldn't have taken all three languages. Okay. So, and we also get some bonus information on that. But right away, the first thing I'm looking at, since we didn't have anybody that took French that also took Russian, then when we go to our Venn diagram, that means we had nobody that took all three. And we also know that this next little place out here is a 0, because this is where French and Russian overlap, right? F and R overlap here. So if we didn't have anybody in there, then we get 2 zeros. Okay. And you don't always have one like that where you get 2 from the same little line of information. Most of them in general, you'll probably get one that tells you something about the middle, and then we have to do the double overlaps separately. We kind of finished this double overlap for free with that one little line there. So then I'm going to go back to the information, and I'm going to look to see if I've got any more information about the other overlaps, okay, people that took 2 languages. So the next line here says 39 who took French also took German. So I know in my overlap between French and German, I need a total of 39. So French and German are these 2 sections. We already know this one's 0, so we don't have to subtract anything on this one. If there was a number in all 3, we would have to subtract, but here, since it's 0, I know this section is going to be 39. Okay. 39. And then we've got one more double overlap, right? We need to overlap with German and Russian. So that's the next thing I'm going to look for. Okay. Next sentence says 84 who took German also took Russian. So that's good. That's what we needed. It doesn't always give you the information in the order you're looking for. Okay, so sometimes you have to skim through and look for the piece you want. Okay, so here, 84, we don't have to subtract because our middle number is 0. 84 in that one. And then the only pieces we have left, we want the people that only took French, the people that only took Russian, and the people that only took German. Okay. And the way we typically have to get that information on these, okay, is we just get the total for each circle, and then we have to subtract. So here it says altogether 55 reported taking French. So that means we've got a total of 55 people in the French circle. Okay. So to get our outer portion, we just subtract. Okay. So we know the French circle totals up to 55. Okay. So we had to subtract these other 3 numbers. It's easy for us because we've got 2 zeros. Right? And 55 minus 39, it will give us our other number. So what is that, 16? Okay, 2 more. We're almost there. Now this 141 reported taking German. Okay. So our German circle has to total up to 141. On this one, we do have a couple of numbers we have to subtract. So we have to do 141 minus this, minus this, minus this. Minus 39, minus 0, minus 84. Okay. So let's see what that one comes up to. Was it 141? Yeah, 141 minus 39 minus 84 gives us 18. And then there's 92 reported taking Russian. So we've got 92 minus the 84 gives us 8. And if nothing else, checking yourself. It's a good idea just to check at least that the total matches, okay, that you didn't accidentally write one down in the wrong spot. So here, that's 92. We just did that one. That's what we're supposed to get with Russian. And then German, if we add these up, let's see, that's 102. And so 141, I think that was the right number. And then here, 16 and 39, that's 55. So that at least is one little quick check you can do to make sure you didn't write one down in the wrong spot. Okay. And sometimes there's one more step. This one didn't give it to us, okay? If they give you the total number of people in the survey, okay, so maybe it said we had 400 people on our survey or something like that, then we would need to figure out how many are left out in the universal set. And so to do that, it's a little tedious. Okay? So we'd have to do the total minus this, minus 16, minus 39, minus 18, minus 0, minus 0, minus 84, minus 8. And that would give us whatever is left outside. Luckily on this one, it didn't mention the total, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Questions on doing that? Did anybody sleep? Not, maybe not. Okay. So again, that one didn't ask us a question, but it could have. It could say like how many people only took German, and or how many people took. Let's see, what's another good question? We got those zeros in there, kind of messes some of these up. Yeah, really on that one, all the good questions to ask are like the outer circle parts. How many only took German? How many only took French? How many only took Russian? Okay. Huh? No questions? You got where we got all the numbers from? Where they all came from? Okay. Good deal. All right, one more and we'll be done. Okay, so give you something to look forward to. We only have one more of these to do. Okay. Let's look at this last one. This time we're got a survey at a grocery store. And the 225 shoppers like bananas, 198 like apples, 180 like grapes. And that's, I'm going to stop there if it's me. I'm not even going to bother reading the rest of it because I'm not going to remember it after I draw my circles. So I'm going to go set up my Venn diagram. I know we need 3 circles. We need one for bananas, one for apples, one for grapes. Okay, so let's see. There's apples, bananas, and grapes. Okay. Then I'll go back and actually start reading the information they give me. And remember, we're looking for the most inside section. So we're going to see if we see anybody that liked all 3. Oh, okay, so that worked out well. That's the next piece of information it gave us. And it said 25 shoppers like all 3 fruits. That gets us started. We've got 25 right in the middle of our Venn diagram. So 25. Okay. And then we can work our way out from there. So now when we're skimming through all this information it gives us, we're going to be looking for people that like 2 types of fruits, because then we can subtract and figure out our other sections. Okay, so next line tells us there are 110 shoppers that like bananas and apples. Okay, so we need that overlap to total 110. We already have 25 in there, so if we do 110 minus 25, it gives us 85, and that's bananas and apples, so that's that one. Okay. Next it says 58 like apples and grapes. Okay, so 58 minus the 25 that like all three gives us 33. That was that apples and grapes? Yeah. So 33 in there. Okay. And then the last one says 55 like bananas and grapes. So 55 minus 25. There's 30 in there. We work our way out. Okay, so we're looking for the total apples, total bananas, total grapes, and then we could subtract. Okay, so we go back to the beginning of the problem. It says 225 shoppers like bananas, so that's total. So we can do 225 minus, what else do we have to subtract? We're doing bananas, so we got to subtract. Nobody? 85, thank you. 85 is one. 25, because it's in the middle, and then we need to subtract 30 also. I won't make you talk, I guess, today. Okay. If we do that, that leaves us 85. That were just bananas. Okay. Two more. Okay. It says 198 like apples. So to get the apple circle, we'll do 198 minus 85 minus 25 minus 33. So just the other pieces of the apple circle. That's 55. And then last one. Let's see, 180 like grapes, it says. So we'll do 180 minus 33 minus 25 minus 30. Leave this with 92. Well, that was ugly too. Okay, 92. And then did it tell us the total shoppers? No, it didn't tell us the total number of shoppers, so we don't have to do that last thing. But again, sometimes you will have one that says like we had a survey of 500 shoppers. So then you just have to take the total everybody number and subtract all the little pieces you have in here. Okay? Because if you try to like shortcut that, if you try to say, well, I'm going to take the total number of shoppers and subtract the total apples, okay, that's fine. But then when you try to subtract the total bananas, you're subtracting these people twice. So I know it's a little annoying, but you just take the total and subtract each one of these little pieces in here. Okay. All right. Questions there? Or if you wanted to, you could figure this out on your own, but if you wanted to, you could add up all the little pieces and then do the total minus that if you prefer. Something to mention. All right. Well, that is it for chapter 2. Okay. The problems in this section's assignment are just real similar to what we did today. Okay. Hope you have a good long weekend. If you didn't get on the sign-in sheet, make sure you get on there before you leave. Okay. It's over here. I'll put it on the front. Thank you. Need it? Okay. Yeah, just put it right there and get finished.